Right, and those can be pretty effective, right?
They do, because people are like, cool.
Right.
The CEO is already texting me, a day after I got hired.
Yeah, how special am I, right?
Very
really
special.
Hi, this is Eric.
Hey, and this is Mike.
Welcome to Cyber Sitrep.
The Cyber Situation Report.
That's right. So, Mike, what is our juicy topic today?
Well, today we're going to be talking about phishing, and that's with a PH.
Yeah.
It's the number one kind of attack vector because it's an email. And if you were an attacker trying to come in, would you pound on the door or put the mail through the mail slot? It's a lot easier to stick the mail through the mail slot, and thus you're inside.
Yeah.
So phishing is that... well, you've got the official definition right there.
Oh, yeah. So Merriam-Webster, right? I'm a geek. I like to prep, and, I like to verify definitions and stats whenever I can. So it's official for Merriam-Webster as of 30 minutes ago, right? Phishing is the practice of tricking Internet users as through the use of deceptive email messages or websites into revealing personal or confidential information, which can then be used illicitly.
That's right. They're basically trying to trick you into doing something that you don't want to do, but making you feel like it's something you should be doing. Right.
And so, Mike, that's a great point. All those are techniques in what we call social engineering, right?
That's right.
So let's talk about a couple of high-level social engineering techniques that phishing has in common, regardless of the method or platform.
That's right. So, and before we jump into how we're doing it, there's also phishing and
Smishing. So we'll go ahead and talk about that, the variants of phishing, right?
Right. Because we in the IT world don't like to just call one thing and then just let it go. We hook onto the ishing. And then,
absolutely.
So we came up with phishing. Some of them came up with like their actual phishing, but with a PH.
And phishing is email related, right?
And then they came up with vishing, which was a V, and that's voice solicitation, where I'm trying to call you on the phone. And then there's smishing, SMS-ishing, which is your texting.
Short message service.
That's right, SMS.
Texting, right?
Texting.
Which, true story, just 2 days ago, while I was at a... talk about timing, right? We were at a scale-up event where, it's business development, and we're listening to this really serious talk, and I get a smishing attack on my phone, and I had the phone silenced. I took a look at it, and we'll talk about, a little bit more in social engineering details, but only probably a third of it was related to me. It had to do with my bank that we do business with, but the amount that it said, did you spend this amount at insert retail store name here, which I never shop at. It's not that I'm a snob. It's not in my wheelhouse, right? So the attackers took a guess. They took a 3-pronged guess. They got one of the 3 right. And instantly I knew that was smishing. And then 2, because we're cybersecurity professionals, I knew it was smishing as well because, looked at the phone number it came from. The area code was in Florida, not here in Colorado, which is where our bank is located. So that was a dead giveaway, right? And we're going to talk about, how you identify phishing attacks here very shortly. But, I followed through the checklist we're going to present and very quickly, was made aware that it was smishing. But one of the going back to, Let's finish your vectors first.
Well, I was going to say then within phishing, we have spear phishing.
Right.
And spear phishing is kind of what it sounds, a spear. It's going after a smaller group or a singular target.
Right.
You're limiting it down. Where phishing, they typically send out hundreds of thousands of emails hoping someone bites. Spear phishing is, I kind of know who you are, so I'm going to target you.
A little more intel on the person, right? Or persons in this case, because it doesn't have to be just one, but it's highly targeted, right?
That's right. And again, since we're IT people and we like to create things, they said, well, if I'm spear phishing, what if I'm going after the whale? So whaling. Whaling is the idea of going after the big target, the
senior
CEO,
leadership,
CFO, someone who can really spend the money.
Decision makers, people that have budget authority, right? Those are the whales.
Those are the whales. So like Vegas, the whales that come in, the big spenders.
Right.
That's who we're after.
Or, one thing we've seen too is that a lot of phishing emails use spoof the credentials of those whales.
They do.
To tell their rank and file employees that, hey, you need to go buy me a gift card.
They're on LinkedIn, and when you say, hey, I just got hired at this company, immediately you might get an SMS text message saying, hi, I'm the CEO. Welcome to the company. I just have some questions for you.
Right. And those can be pretty effective, right?
They do, because people are like, cool.
Right.
The CEO is already texting me, a day after I got hired.
Yeah, how special am I, right?
Very
really
special.
And actually, there's tons of stories. Everybody has those, but
That's
real world one that happened here as well. Sorry, I can't talk today. It's Friday. Is that same thing happened, right? Another one of our peers here in town had a new intern start. The attackers looked at the social schedule for this company and figured out that the CEO was going to be talking at a conference and they used that as a pretext, right? As a hey, I'm this person. I need you to do this for me while I'm at that conference. So
it's typically gift cards.
It was.
Some gift cards.
It was. And so in this particular case, the intern did it one time. Did it a second time, and when they did it the second time, their lizard brain kicked in, which we'll talk about at the end, and they realized that something didn't feel right there. Something was wrong. And of course, there was something wrong.
It's my spidey sense. I get the little tingles.
It was. But you got to love it in our community, right? We're not as rough as the law enforcement, right? Law enforcement eat their own, and they make examples of each other, really, really, brutal examples. We're kind of the same way in cybersecurity, but I don't think we're nearly as harsh.
No.
And in this case, the owner of the company said, okay, well, I think we've learned a lesson here, and now you're going to give a presentation to the rest of the cybersecurity community here in town. And it was excellent. It was very well received. The gentleman was a little nervous, the intern going over it, but we've all been there, right? And it had a lot of value because learning that, seeing that scenario, hearing about it in action will hopefully inoculate others in the community to not do that, right?
So the latest one we've heard is that you get a call from your bank that's an automated fraud alert.
Oh.
Then they send you we need you to verify who you are before we get into your fraud alerts.
I've seen that, yes.
And they either ask for your PIN or they send you a text. The text number, though, is for mobile wallet.
Ah.
And if you just look at the number and put the number in and not read the text, you've just given them access to a mobile wallet they tried to create with your credit card.
Ouch.
And if you hang up or somehow just quit that call, or after you do that call, they will call you again with a person and saying, this is the fraud department. I just want to verify that. They list the 3 or 2 things they just purchased.
Oof.
So that you go, thank you for catching it.
Right.
And then they tell you, we'll cancel your card.
Wow.
So then you don't look at your statement.
Of course.
And then they go out and spend like crazy.
That's really creative.
So that's a double. It's almost like MFA, but it's a 2-factor attack.
But for phishing, yeah.
It's a multi-factor attack.
That's awesome. Which we just did MFA, so this is fresh in our minds. So
it was a phishing and a vishing together.
Wow. Chain attack.
Yep.
Awesome. Wow. Well, that's going to be really important when we talk about identifying and defending, right?
That's right.
How we can stop that cold.
That's right.
All right. I think we talked about all the variants of phishing out there, right? You mentioned phishing, smishing, spear phishing, whaling, the broad spectrum phishing we call farming with a PH, right? And that's low rate of return. But if the bad guys, if it didn't work for the bad guys, they wouldn't still be doing it, right?
It's cheap to send a million emails.
Super, super cheap. And it's an old stat, but I heard that if they got less than 5% hits or returns, that was a profitable day for the bad guys. Now, once again, I'm sure that metric has moved over the years, but the point is they don't need a lot of people. They just need a few well-heeled individuals, such as Mike here, that they can get that bank account.
If they can get my bank, then they'll know they're in trouble.
Right. Okay, so we talked about the variants of phishing. I'd like to talk about a couple of high-level social engineering techniques.
How do they get us?
And they're all tightly coupled, right?
That's right.
So, and then I'm going to do a big shout out to somebody in our community that I think is amazing with social engineering. We'll get into that in just a second. But fear of missing out, right?
FOMO. How come you got a free coffee and I didn't get a free coffee?
Right.
Or
once again, the outrage.
You have to do this to get it. You know what I mean? Everyone else is taking advantage of this offer.
And that's what we call quid pro quo, right?
Yep.
This for that.
They just want you to jump in.
Right. And so once again, our primal brain wants to get that good deal, and they're hoping that they're catching you off of your game, right? Let me just we're going to talk about that in defending as well. But
we did a phishing campaign. Speaking of FOMO, we did a phishing campaign against a municipality, a city, and they didn't want us to go to a training page. Normally when we do a phishing campaign, if you fall for the fish, it goes to a training page. Hey, you fell for a fish. Here's some training.
Do better.
But they wanted a 0 line to begin with, so no one knew they were fished.
I see.
So we sent them to an error 404 page on the click.
Nice.
And we had one gentleman who 3 times a day for a week kept going back to our phishing page. And I said, you have good news and bad news. Good news, he's dedicated. He will get the job done.
Yes.
Bad news, if it's a phish, he will be sure to be phished.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's their prerogative, right? As the business owners, for sure. Wow.
But then they started tracking. But it was a great first run. This poor gentleman got a 404 and thought, yeah, everyone's trying to get my free Starbucks, and then kept going back. So.
Yeah, I mean, not only our customers, but some of our previous business experiences where we were wearing other hats. It was a graduated system, right? So if you fell for the phishing email in the quarter, then you'd get an email saying, you fell for it. And if you did it again, then you'd be getting contacted by your manager saying, hey, I think you need some remedial training.
That's right.
And I kid you not, we had people like that would do it 3-4 times in a row, and they got shown the door.
That's right.
Because they were
FOMO.
not. Exactly.
They did not want to miss out on their chance for a free coffee.
Right. And as part of that FOMO, we also have fear of loss, right?
That's right.
So, fear of missing out, fear of loss, they could be the same, but there's nuances there as well, right? Saying, hey, if you don't want us to shut your account down, you need to give us, click on this link and re-authenticate, right?
Your password has expired.
Exactly. And if you want to continue access to this great service, you have to act now, right?
That's right. It's always important that you act now.
Exactly. And that brings us to the last, there's multiple other points. We're just hitting the high spots. We also have some kind of urgency that's communicated in the email, right? Some time sensitivity. It has to be now. It has to be in the next 24 hours, right?
Yeah.
And the reason for that is all internet attacks are time-based. So the longer these set unanswered, the chances or the odds of that attack succeeding start to go down, right?
That's right.
And they start to go down rapidly with the progression of time, right?
Yep.
So that's why they want you to do it right now. And that's the other reason why a lot of times you'll see these phishing campaigns occur on the weekends or on a holiday.
That's right. When you think the bad guys are off work, they're not. They work when you're off work.
And so, Mike, if you had to guess, why do you think they send stuff off peak like that? Do you think it's to save money?
No, I don't think it's to save money, like cheaper discounts on a Saturday.
Right.
But it's you're home,
yourself.
you're not working, and so then that's where you might get that FOMO or that urgency connection, and like, oh my God, I have to do this right away.
Yeah.
And also, if you're not getting a lot of work emails, maybe the phishing will stand out. It's not drowned in a bunch of other emails you get daily.
Yeah, no, that's very true. So yeah, it gets your attention. Two, if you're not in your best mind, right, especially on a Friday like it is today for us.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a struggle to stay focused on what you're doing.
So if you're listening and you want to try to phish us, Friday is our best day.
Please, we love samples. We love inert samples. No, not really. He does, but.
I do. I eat them up.
Hit him first. So, but yeah, point is they want to try and catch you where you're not 100% focused on the business, so they can hopefully do what we call a buffer overflow.
Yep.
And get past your thinking brain, your conscious, and get into that subconscious and plant that command, that seed, right?
That's right.
That, when you're working and you're all in on your game, that won't happen, but it happens to everybody. And I'm not going to throw any rocks at anybody. I can tell you a number of times I've been this close to clicking on something that I shouldn't. And when you look at it and you do that analysis of why that happened, it's always because you're either distracted or you have something else on your mind and you're not 100% focused on the task in front of you. So,
and that happens. I had fished a IT director at a company. We fished everyone at the company, but he bit. And I got a very obscene email sent to me.
Right, because he knew as soon as he did it, didn't he?
He did. And the obscene email was basically because he knew, and he was upset that I caught him.
And he's like, damn you for catching me.
And he was most upset because the email came from the IT director, which was him. And he goes, I don't know why I clicked it, but they were doing an inventory.
We can't make this stuff up, right?
No,
Truth is stranger than fiction. It really is.
He was doing an inventory.
Right.
And he got an email about the inventory from the IT director.
Right.
And he said, I clicked it real quick thinking like, yeah, we're doing this. And he goes, the minute I clicked it, I realized I wouldn't have sent myself an email. This is Mike. And he got very upset when the training message popped up.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank God you guys got him.
He knew.
And I know, and it's a refresher, right? So what was I going to say on that? The only other thing is we learn from it. We move on. That's what I was going to say. So
don't put shame on it.
No, exactly.
Right.
Because that's the wrong message you're going to send there, right? But the other thing I wanted to say is that for those of you that think you're multitaskers, you're not, right? Science is proven. Apparently, our fair halves.
Did
are
you
a little
talk to my
better than
wife?
We are.
Because
No,
she complains that I multitask all the time.
Oh, see, no, it's the opposite in our household. But see, once again, you're 2 steps ahead of me. But scientifically proven, right, that multitasking is a fallacy, right? You think you're doing 2 things equally well, but you're not. One of them is suffering. And if you're such a high-functioning person, it may not ever make a difference. But this is one of those it may. So don't multitask when you're checking your email.
That's right.
That's one of our defensive tips already, but we'll get to that. So before we proceed, Mike, I just want to do an unsolicited shout out to, and Chris, I apologize. I don't know why I have a hard time pronouncing your last name, Hagnagi from socialengineer.org. Chris and his team are amazing. They do social engineering professionally.
That's awesome.
And what's cool of what I love about them so much is they have a dedicated free site, social-engineer.org, that they go into all the principles of social engineering, right? It is a discipline, it is a science, and even cooler, right? So that's the first thing is you get all this great info. They also have an outstanding podcast they've had going for years, and all their episodes are available that you can go back from day one all the way up till now. They're current.
We'll get there one day.
Maybe, hopefully. I don't know, man. That's a lot of work. They've been going a long time. And they have a lot of former law enforcement officer types. They have a lot of intelligence folks on there, people that know and do this stuff for good. They have on the show, and they dissect this stuff. So if if you catch the bug, which hopefully you do, because I find it fascinating, please check out social-engineer.org. And then if you would like to throw Chris and his team some work, he has a link at the top that'll take you to his .com site, which is their corporate site for engaging for services, et cetera. So, Chris, thank you, sir, for being a pillar of the community and putting that out there, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, it's a whole discipline, the people study of cybersecurity. Absolutely. It's not always technology. People are a big component.
Right. And if you're in a sales position, you're a social engineer, right? You're trying to get somebody to buy
I tell that to my students
something
all the time that work in that kind of profession.
Absolutely.
I'm like, you are well ahead of the game because you already know how to get people to do something they don't want to do, which is buy.
Right. Influence people, right?
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So really quick, Mike, let's talk about how we identify phishing.
Yeah, there's different methods. The old school way was that the spelling was terrible and the grammar was poor.
Right.
I'm still waiting for my gold to come from the Nigerian prince that I sent him money years ago, and it's not coming through.
Those still, believe it or not, that scam is still used.
It's still
crazy,
used,
right? Yeah.
And then there's the domain mismatch where we change one character or take an O and make it a 0, or we add a character. That one's often hard to spot in a quick thing.
And once again, that requires that 100% attention, right?
That's right.
Because the hackers know that, and they know you're just going to glance at something. And if they can make it, in this case, let's just say Microsoft.com, make it look like that. But if you actually read the whole domain URL, you would see that Microsoft.com was the first part of the domain, and the last part of the domain is this domain you've never heard of. And when you Google
HackingYou.com.
Right, exactly. It's pretty much that's what it is, right? And when you Google that domain or you search engine of your choice, you're like, where is this at? And it's in some country you've never heard of.
A lot of them are going through Scandinavian countries because they allow domain registrations quickly, cheaply.
Right. Well, which I'm going to talk about in defenses. Thank you for bringing that up. Hold that thought.
Well,
in addition to domain mismatch, Mike, we can also look for truncated or obfuscated URLs.
Those little tiny URLs
like the Bitly service.
That's right. They're very small, and they make it easier to read on a SMS or an email.
Sure, exactly.
But, where does it really go?
Exactly. And not to besmirch any of those organizations that use that. They have legitimate uses. But once again, attackers are taking advantage of that, trying to catch you off guard. So you would need to detonate that in a safe environment, right? Or expand that URL in some safe browser, et cetera, right? To avoid being compromised, right?
Exactly.
Okay, awesome. So another identification method is looking for grammatical errors.
That's right. The Nigerian prince, who I'm still waiting for my money from.
Right.
They are getting lesser, and we're going to talk about why that's lesser of an error. They're getting better at
it used
phishing.
to be really easy to notice that English was a second or third language.
That's right.
Not so much anymore.
Money, gold, I have for you.
Exactly. Yeah. Just give me an escrow account, and we'll make that happen.
That's right.
But Mike, like I said earlier, the whole reason that still happens is because it's successful, unfortunately, right?
Yep.
If nobody responded to those, that would go away, and they would pivot to something else.
It goes back to that FOMO. I want my million in gold.
Absolutely, and maybe a sense of greed.
That's right.
Something for nothing, etc. And then one other thing that I like to use is looking for the phone numbers they tell you to call, right?
Yep.
A lot of times they'll be international, or they won't come close to matching. Like in our case, our smishing that we got, it had my bank name, but our bank is only in Colorado, and the number was from Florida. So that was an instant giveaway.
Little mismatch.
Yeah, just kind of a big one, right? And
Right.
so thank God that was a low effort one, right? And so I didn't fall for that one. That's great. But I just want to reinforce that, Mike, that companies will never, ever ask you.
No, the bank won't say, give me your PIN.
Right. Your
It's not gonna
multi-factor
happen.
authentication.
Yeah,
They won't have you re-authenticate to a URL or any of that stuff, right? They'll tell
Exactly.
you need to log into their portal and do that, but that's what I think you were talking about, doing that out of band, right?
Yep.
So you never
Always.
click on the URL, you go to the site itself, and then you go to see, oh, do I really have a fraud alert on my account? And when we
Exactly.
don't see that, then you know that was bogus. So AI is kind of making this harder, right, for us to detect.
Going back to my Nigerian prince, the AI is allowing any kind of attacker from anywhere in the world, including within the U.S., to basically type in, I need an email that says this,
Right.
and it'll create a perfect grammar.
Perfect grammar, right? No
Right.
mistakes,
Coming
no
up.
giveaways, right? And then real world example. One of our customers recently got a phishing email that looked pretty legitimate, and I'm wondering where they got all that information from, because it looked pretty thorough.
Right.
And to come to find out, we did just a quick AI search for that company name, and the dossier that the AI was able to spit out from open source intelligence was just amazing. And it wasn't to the word, but it was close enough that you're like, wow, they got this.
Tell you
from
who the
AI.
owners are and
Right.
what their business is.
what their
and-
verticals are, what
That's
they're
right.
doing, key personnel. It was really scary, right?
Because we have websites.
Right. Well, we have to have a footprint, right, to do
Yep.
business.
And then that's where people will grab from the AI. They'll
Right.
grab from it.
So it's making it harder for detection. But, let's talk about defenses. So if you have any inkling at all that you've got a phishing or a variant there, we need to defend against that, right? And so what are our main methods that we recommend for
First
defending
that out of
against
band
phishing?
again. If I have any links in my email, I don't click the link, but I go to the site itself.
Right.
And that way I know that I'm going directly to the true source.
Mm-hmm.
And then forwarding it to any spam to IT security,
Right. If you have IT security, please do that, because if you don't, they're going to beat us up because why did we circumvent their process? So
That's right.
if you have IT security, please forward to them. You normally have like a spam at, they have a generic address. Please send it to your InfoSec professionals if you have them available.
Some phishing or some emails have the click the phishing button that you can just click the phishing button.
in line, which is
Yep.
great if you're that organization. Awesome. Also, I just wanted to go back to the out of band. Anybody looked at their credit card lately on the back of it? What do we always have on the back besides our security number?
I was going to say my security number.
Well, you got your security number, right? But we also have a contact number
Yes.
for that organization, right? So that's their legit phone number that you call.
That's the number
right?
you call.
Out of band. And so even if you get a message on your phone that has a number, don't use that number. Look at your card for your bank, for your institution, and call that number instead to verify, right? Out
Right.
of band, something easy, and you don't have to even go to the website and look. I have had one example of a card that did not have a contact number on it, but that's only one out of dozens that I've seen.
Yeah, they usually have it.
They always have a toll-free number that you can get to. So, all right, what else?
Oh, I always say that if you get an attachment, there are websites like VirusTotal that you
yes,
can click
excellent.
and drag the attachment to, and it'll tell you if it's a good or bad attachment.
Right, if it's got evil intent or
That's
not.
right.
And the nice thing is, too, those sites use an aggregation of different malware detection engines, right? So I
Exactly.
think it's like dozens or 20, 30, 40.
Absolutely.
They have a lot of different engines that simultaneously look at that. So absolutely. So before we get to the formal stuff, I just want to go back to that whole trust yourself, right?
Yes.
And press pause, right? Because I mentioned earlier, all internet attacks are time-based. And so if it just doesn't look right or feel right, and I know people are, but feel, Eric, who cares about that? I call that your lizard brain, right?
Yep.
That's your primal thing that we've had for tens of thousands of years that's helped us survive. Trust that. If you ever get a tingling in the back of your mind,
My spidey sense.
that's not a tumor, right?
Yeah.
That's your spidey sense. Trust it, right?
Yep.
And at a minimum, pause and don't interact with that particular email or text or whatever it is. And then further, if you've ruminated on it and you still don't know, well, guess what? You can throw it out. It's totally all right. When in doubt, throw it out. So
That's right.
People, right?
If it's important, the person will email you back.
Yes, they will try to contact you again, or even better, they'll give you a phone call and say, Eric or Mike, why in the heck didn't you answer my email? And then you can say, well, because I thought it was a phishing email
right.
because you're horrible at drafting emails. So
That's
let's
right.
have a conversation, right?
That's right. We need to improve your emailing capabilities.
Right, absolutely. But rely on that human element, right?
Yes,
Break that
absolutely.
chain, break that automation, and we'll be good. So if you have it, it's pretty much everybody has this, but we have some kind of spam filtering built into our services today, right? Make sure you're using those.
That's
if you're
right.
not happy with the built-in that comes with your platform, there are third parties out there that have all kinds of advanced
Exactly.
filtering that's available, and it's actually really affordable for a lot of those plans.
A fact that I have is that 33% of phishing makes it through any spam filter.
Oh, you're such a buzzkill.
I know.
Oh,
So,
man.
but it stops 70%. So,
Well,
that's something.
67. You said 33.
Well,
right?
yeah, but
Math on Friday, dangerous.
I
right?
round.
Right. So if you are so inclined, and this really gets into more of your IT security folks, is we can use some advanced tools, right, to look at the message more in depth.
That's
so
right.
we can do that URL. We can go to places like Whois or advanced tools like that to see when that domain was created,
That's right.
who it's owned by, where it's registered, how long it's been around in operation.
That's right.
All kinds of good stuff. And I did that on that Smishing one because it actually had a URL to click. And I looked at it and it was for sale. The domain was for sale. So I'm like, okay, that's another dead giveaway.
That's probably not a company who
that's-
wants to talk to you.
Exactly, right. And once again, if you're comfortable doing that kind of advanced detail work there, more power to you. It'll just help reinforce that you've got it there, right? Also, formal education and training.
Awareness training, awareness training,
I know,
awareness training.
We've got another Sitrep we're going to do here soon, talking about cybersecurity awareness training. Is it working, right?
Yep.
And that's another thread. But train your folks, right?
That's right. If they don't know, how can you hold them liable for stuff you're not telling them not to do?
Exactly. And Mike, you'd already mentioned this. You're a big proponent. You use this a lot more than we do, but you do professional services engagements with companies that's what they do. They do phishing, smishing, and
we provide the phishing tests to
Right.
organizations. We can do the phishing if they want, or the smishing.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just send them the emails. We got some Canadian clients now, so we created instead of Starbucks, we have Timmy's.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Tim Hortons. Yeah.
yeah, they get their Timmy's.
Timmy's, that's right. That's the abbreviation. Yeah, that's awesome. And once again, Mike brought up an important point earlier. Using the services engagement isn't to try and discipline your people.
No.
It's to identify gaps in their awareness and training and remedy those in your organization, right?
Absolutely.
And then if they repeatedly fall victim and prey to this, then maybe you need to look at other employment options to that point. But that's not the primary purpose of this.
No,
right?
it's just to see how do you know? Like if you're testing, you're doing pen tests, vulnerability tests, you're testing your hardware, you got to test your people.
Right. See where your gaps are and
Exactly.
close those up. And then finally, one thing we love to do is both for ourselves and we advise our customers to do this is to share some inert real world examples that you get.
Yep.
Because once again, as senior leadership, we get tons. I was helping Corinne, the boss. I was helping her yesterday, as a matter of fact, with her email with the signature issue, and she must have had like 7 or 8 that popped up literally within the 10 minutes I was in there. And I'm like, wow, you get that much stuff? And she's like, yes, I do. And she's trained and it hasn't been an issue thus far. But what we like to do is take some of those, examples, defang them, right? So
Yep.
de-weaponize them and then share that with our teammates to say, hey, look, this is how we're being targeted this month. So once again, the idea is that, you're sharing with the team, this is how we're being targeted so they can be alert for that. So if they see that, they'll know right away, oh, hey, nope, I've already seen that. It's part of a campaign. Nothing to see here. Delete it or forward it to security and move on with their day.
Yeah, I get a couple times a week you need to change my payroll.
Right.
And
exactly.
I'm like, no, I know. Luckily, we're small enough. I know everyone.
Exactly. Thank goodness. Right?
You know?
And this is why it's such a big issue in larger organizations, right?
That's right.
Okay. So, Mike, you want to close us out, sir?
Sure. I think
we did a good job on
just
this
to
one.
close, we're saying phishing. You have to be aware.
Yep.
Number one, that's your best defense, is being aware, going slow, and being mindful of everything you do. And I wanted to tell everyone that we are coming to you from the Studio 809 Community Podcast Studio at the Next Us, which is a professional cooperative environment for small businesses in downtown Colorado Springs.
Super cool. Come check it out.
It's great. Yeah, come check it out. They are our hosts, and we appreciate them greatly. And also, we appreciate you, our people who come in and listen. So please tell your friends, like,
Spread the
and
word.
follow.
Thank you, guys. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.